Hey everybody, and welcome to Don't Copy That Floppy. I'm Lex.
I'm Dan.
And we are a video game news podcast broadcasting live every Friday from 7 p.m. until 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And our software is successfully working on Dan's computer. We're very happy to hear it.
It's been a while. I got Windows 8 and it ruined everything, which I'm sure is just preaching to the choir. But, it sucked anyway. But yeah, we got it up and running. Apparently I did everything right earlier today. So here we are. You didn't say anything about our social media, did you?
I didn't.
Well, we have a lot of social media to talk about.
The whole fist of social media.
The fist. That's a good term, yeah. Facebook, Twitter, iTunes, YouTube, and I guess Steam. We're counting on there. It's got its own kind of thing.
Steam is definitely the pinky finger.
It's got its own little community thing going on. So we're good. We're on all those. We Don't Copy That Floppy on all those places except for Steam.
Twitter.
I was about to say except for Steam. Twitter,
where we are at DCTF Podcast.
Yes.
But definitely like us on those things. We greatly appreciate it.
Yeah.
We post a lot of articles and stuff, especially on our Facebook and on our Twitter throughout the week.
Last week we talked about E3, as our show happened after E3 wrapped up. But we mostly talked about the game announcements and trailers and gameplay that were shown for various things. So, seeing stuff for games that had been announced a while ago finally, seeing these new things that were announced IP-wise, and we both gave our 2 cents on a bunch of the announcements made at each press conference.
Yeah, specifically we focused a lot on the games.
Yes. And we actually disagreed about a lot of stuff, which I thought was funny. But it was interesting. It made the show more fun. So this week, we're talking about the industry side of things. So we're going to talk about the show itself of E3, like all these press conferences, and how they were put together. We're going to talk about businessmen being businessmen. We're going to talk about cool, fast cars.
Lowering from the ceiling.
We're going to talk about cheap gimmicks.
Cheap plastic
gimmicks. We're going to talk about obnoxious hosting. We're going to Ubisoft. So yeah, this week is all of that stuff. And then we're going to talk a little bit about some recent game news.
Oh yeah.
And then end off probably talking
news.
about games that are about to come out in the next few weeks.
Oh yeah, I got to open up.
So yeah, let's get started. I mean, why don't we just start with Microsoft, who I believe is who we started with last week, since they were first. Unless we want to do Bethesda first.
I think we started with Bethesda.
Did we actually?
Last week. Yeah,
okay,
because they were the first one chronologically.
Right. Yeah. So let's start with Bethesda then. We both mentioned last week, I think, that we thought they did a pretty good job for their first time.
In terms of the games that they showed, and the fact that they showed, they talked about gameplay mechanics,
yes.
and they showed gameplay.
Yes.
The only thing I think we were really hating on from that press conference was Hearthstone, that they're getting into Hearthstone.
Yeah. Bethesda's going to be making Hearthstone now, too. I know you might be thinking, but Blizzard already made that game. Well, Bethesda decided that they felt like doing it, too.
They felt like they wanted that money.
They wanted a little bit of that Hearthstone money.
What was
So they just took a bunch of Skyrim characters and they redrew them in Blizzard-style art. And they're like, we're making a card game. It's free.
It's called Elder Scrolls
Legends,
Hearthstone. Maybe?
Yeah, Elder Scrolls Legends, I think.
We saw no gameplay or have no idea how it would function in any way. We just know that it's a collectible card game you play on your computer that looks exactly like Hearthstone.
We just know that it's Hearthstone.
We just know that it's Hearthstone.
Yeah.
Speaking to the industry stuff of that press conference, so dumb.
Yes.
Like, in a conference full of great, meaningful stuff, that was like... And the fact that they didn't even show us any of it.
What was that game? Did Bethesda show that one that was called, Battle something? Not Battleborn, not Battlefront, not Battlefield. Battle something else with the really generic country representation characters. Like, now you can play as China people, and there's already Russia people, and America people, and it looked bad. The whole game looked terrible.
Battle Cry.
Was that shown at Bethesda's, or was that...
It was.
Okay, that also looked horrible.
That did look horrible.
That looked like, that game just looked like unfinished trash.
Mm-hmm. Hot garbage.
Hot
we got a sound effect for this game? I think we do.
Do we? Oh no, I'm fumbling. Ah!
That's where that game belongs.
But we also saw a lot of Fallout 4.
Get ice. No, that was
so that
was the other game they showed, which was Doom.
You're right, the 5 different kinds of shotguns. Every time you get a new weapon, it's just another shotgun.
But that's all I want in a Doom game. Let's be fair.
That was actually... we didn't actually talk about that last week, but that was probably my favorite part of that Doom demo, was that he got a shotgun. I was like, yeah, the shotgun. And then the next weapon he picks up was the super shotgun. Yeah. I was like, all right.
Because he started with a shotgun, and then he found a double barrel, old-fashioned shotgun.
I was honestly really disappointed when he picked up another gun, and it was just the plasma rifle. I was like, why isn't this the plasma shotgun?
I need another shotgun.
I want a game with nothing but shotguns. They're the best weapon in every game. Everybody knows it. So, showing-wise, Bethesda was okay.
Mm-hmm.
They had a few spots marring them, but their principal things, like Fallout and, Dishonored, I wasn't very interested in it, but it was still a good showing of it.
Yeah.
And the other big thing they showed that now I'm blanking on. They showed some Elder Scrolls Online stuff, which was good.
Yeah, it was Doom, Fallout.
And Doom.
Doom.
Duh, we just talked about it.
Just all the shotguns. But yeah, the only blatant money grab was Elder Scrolls Legends. So if we pretend that wasn't there, it was a pretty reasonable press conference.
Yes. You mentioned, though, the shameless hawking of their game with a big hunk of plastic.
Yeah, I almost forgot about that. I'm glad you reminded me.
Because Fallout 4, great looking game. It's shaping up nice. Looking forward to that. But they announced the big special edition for it that includes a big ol' useless hunk of plastic.
The Pip-Boy?
It's shaped like a Pip-Boy. And you can put your phone in it.
Yep. And they have an app that you download, and I don't know, what do you track the stats of your character or something?
It's something dumb.
It's...
Todd Howard himself said it was a shitty gimmick.
That's how he introduced it.
See, he was trying to be the cool guy, though, by being like, oh, look at our shitty gimmick, but we know it's a shitty gimmick. So you should buy it still.
Points for that, I guess, but it still doesn't make it better.
No.
At least they're self-aware.
The special edition, I believe, was like $120 most places. It sold out pretty much everywhere right away. So it worked.
Yeah.
Clearly. But so good job with this.
It's a big piece of plastic. And the app for your phone is free.
Don't forget the tiny vinyl pop figures you get for pre-ordering.
Oh, I forgot about those. Yeah, that makes it worth it.
Because those things are so good.
Wait, it comes with Amiibo?
They're so... No, even worse.
Because they don't actually do anything in game. They're just...
better and worse. Better in that you can get them.
Unless someone robs a truck full of Fallout 4 packages.
But worse in that those little pop figures are just always disappointing.
Yeah.
What do you even do with those?
You just put them on your shelf.
I guess. I have a lot of stuff on my shelves.
But they're finely crafted.
They're finely crafted from Japan. Or they have joints, and I can put them in silly poses.
Those pop figures are just shoddily crafted from China.
Yeah.
But no, so that really irked me, especially because so much of the Fallout stuff was so great. Yes. And they focused for such a long time on the meat of the game and what we all care about.
But then you always get that kicker.
Yeah, then they threw peripheral stuff at us anyway, and I was like, you guys didn't need to do that.
No.
You had plenty of stuff to talk about.
People were gonna buy it. People were just going to buy this game.
Oh, totally. They didn't need this extra plastic hunk of junk that no one's going to use. They're going to get it, they're going to use it for like a day, and then they're going to put it in the closet.
All the real fans are going to wear their Pip-Boy everywhere.
The prosumers.
The prosumers.
They're going to wear it all the time.
I was wondering when that word would come up today.
I didn't hear that word. I don't remember hearing it at all at E3.
Oh, you can bet behind closed doors. It was
totally.
It was all prosuming.
Yeah. But the fact that I didn't hear it in the press conferences, I was very happy about.
All those sleazy stockholders.
I heard
like, the Pip-Boys, the Pip-Boys! I don't know what this is, but they're buying it! Dance, puppets, dance!
Wait, the Little Big Planet guys were there? But no,
thank God we didn't see Little Big Planet 4.
Well,
did that franchise just die?
That Yarn game, no.
You mean Towerway?
That's not them. There was a game that was by them, though. Dreams.
That was by them?
Yep.
Oh.
So, I mean, they were introducing new IP, which is, like,
Yeah.
way better than them just making another...
I mean, it's less of a game than Little Big Planet.
Yeah.
But it looks more interesting than Little Big Planet.
It totally does. So, that hunk of plastic.
That hunk of plastic. That was the big dumb thing at Bethesda's
God,
conference.
that was so stupid.
I can't wait to get to the big dumb thing about our next press conference.
Microsoft.
Our friends at Microsoft. So, Microsoft also had a pretty solid show. They showed Halo. They showed... Oh, you got a list of it. They showed a cinematic trailer for Dark Souls 3 that was like a whole lot of nothing, but nice to get confirmation, I guess.
They showed Tomb Raider. They showed a little bit of Cuphead, which they showed last year too, so it wasn't that big a deal.
They've shown Cuphead for like 3 years in a row now, and we still don't know like anything
never
about
coming
it.
out.
Yeah.
They showed Gears of War. They showed more Rainbow Six Siege,
Which is fine. They showed a big dumb demo of Minecraft with like holograms and stuff.
That was one of the things I want to talk about. I can think of 3 things from their press conference that were stupid and gimmicky.
That.
Okay, the Minecraft thing, let's talk about that first.
Okay.
So they really want their HoloLens to be used.
Yeah.
Which is weird because they also announced, or talked about, because it had been announced prior to this, how the Oculus is coming packaged with one of their controllers. So they obviously have a bunch of contracts with Oculus, but they're still pushing
But the
HoloLens.
though, have you seen what you can do with it with Minecraft?
You can look at a 3D representation of Minecraft.
Of your Minecraft world on a table.
Yeah. I mean...
And you can cheat by moving it so you can see what's underground.
Now, I'm not going to deny that for Minecraft that's really useful and cool. Like, if you're building stuff in that view, it's way easier, I imagine.
That's very true.
So there's that. But we don't know if it works with any other games, or how it would work with any other games.
I don't think it does, at least right now, because they just put that together as a demo of the HoloLens.
So as far as we know, the HoloLens can be used with Minecraft.
As far as we know, we'll never actually be able to do that right now.
There was also things about...
Also, I want to bring up, since this is our time to talk about the presentation itself.
Yeah.
The people from Mojang doing that demo were painfully scripted.
Oh, yeah.
And super obnoxious.
I mean, a lot of them were.
Yeah.
It was too bad, too, because, what's his name? Phil Spencer.
Yeah.
Who we always talk about how we're really glad that he's running Microsoft now.
Yeah, because he's like the businessman guy, but he's doing fine.
Yeah, and
he's been doing some of the stuff he said he was going to do.
And at last year's E3, he was out on stage a lot.
Yeah.
And we actually made jokes about how he had indie game shirts, and they changed every time he came on stage.
Yeah.
And that was like, it was funny to poke fun at him, but really, he did a pretty good job hosting. Mm-hmm. Like, he didn't sound super scripted.
No. And I thought he was fine this year, too.
Well, that's the thing. He was barely on stage this year.
Yeah.
Like, he came on stage at the beginning and at the end. And most of it was...
was smaller developer people.
Yeah. And a lot of them were just, like, they should not have been on stage.
Well, either they were really awkward and kind of just like, oh, here's my video game, you guys. Or they were, with the HoloLens, you can use Minecraft in a whole new way. Like, shut up. Please, go away.
So that was super annoying gimmicky. There was also people complaining about how it wasn't an accurate representation, because apparently the way the HoloLens actually works, it gives you like a square in the center of your field of vision where you see that 3D representation.
Yeah.
But that, to me, that's like actually kind of a nitpick. There's a lot more to hate about that presentation.
I did read after it about it that it was kind of, the way they showed it on the streams and stuff for like us was kind of BS'd to make it look more impressive.
Yeah. So. But that was like not the thing that bothered me the most, just about the HoloLens thing.
Yeah.
So I think the most minor of the 3 super gimmicky things that they did to me was, or maybe this was a different company. I think this was Microsoft though. Plants vs. Zombies Garden Warfare 2.
Oh yeah, no, this was at the Microsoft show.
When the guy came out in the costume? Or was this a different one? Because I know 2 companies showed it. Oh, it must have been EA then. Well, I'll talk about it then.
Because I didn't watch as much of EA's.
Okay.
So I feel like I missed this.
I think it was EA's.
Okay.
Yeah, I think for Microsoft, they just talked about it, like, straight up.
Yeah.
Like a normal game.
Well, all I saw of Plants vs. Zombies 2 was the cinematic trailer.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it must have been at EA's, because EA's, they showed gameplay.
Okay.
But, so what was the third thing? Now I can't even remember.
Forza.
Oh, yeah, Forza. Duh.
Forza. Do you guys like games about cars? No, actually, scratch that. Do you guys like cars?
That pretty much was what that presentation was. So, Forza...
Hey, you guys, let's stop talking about video games for a little bit. And just stare at this car.
Yeah. You care about that, right? So, they're presenting the new Forza game. Yep. Gamers are generally not very excited about car games. Like, they haven't...
No, they're not presenting the new game. They're presenting the new Ford car.
Yeah. But no, so they're presenting the game... And generally, gamers it's more of a niche market. So, there were a lot of applause lines during the show, but when they had the applause line for the new Forza game, you heard smattered applause.
People were like, yeah.
People were like, I guess it's
I like
cool,
cars,
whatever.
Yay.
Then they showed us cinematics. I don't think they showed us gameplay, although I do think it was in-engine.
In-engine, yeah. Based on the way past the previous Forza games and stuff have looked, I would believe that was all in-engine.
And it looked really pretty, like a pretty racing game.
The cars look good.
Not super excited about that. Then they were like, but wait, there's a new car that Ford is just now coming out with.
Did you guys know?
That's going to premiere in this game.
Oh my god.
And here's
Henry Ford III
to talk about it. So Henry Ford III comes out, I'm like, why?
And he's like, hey guys, video games! And then his car descends from the rafters.
Yeah, they had it on a platform.
This blue space car. Ladies and gentlemen, the Homer.
And again, people clapped for it, but
you hear the one or two guys who go woohoo when they see a cool car.
Yeah, it was...
But then otherwise there's a little bit of awkward
It felt like an awkward applause to me.
Yeah.
I
guess we're supposed to clap.
Yeah. And so they lowered the car down, they had everyone look at it, and then it ascended.
Does it?
Yeah,
almost immediately. It rose back to Valhalla to ride the highways eternal, shiny and chrome.
Man, that reference actually works really well there.
Doesn't it? See Mad Max if you haven't. We don't talk about movies, but I want to say that anyway.
Did they show anything of the Mad Max game?
They only showed brief clips of it. That game looks cool.
It does look cool.
I'm excited. So that was pretty shameless,
oh my god,
bait and switch. Look at this cool thing, buy our game! Woo! My one question. Does that new Ford car have a place for me to put my Pip-Boy?
Does it have a TV built into it that I can plug my game console into? So that I can play Fallout 4 while I'm driving? I play
Forza while I'm driving my car? That's some exhibit kind of thing.
Oh.
Play Forza while you drive your Ford car. So that was most of it for Microsoft. They did have that weird segment, I thought, where the indie developers were coming out one by one, and they all came out on a different part of the stage to talk about their indie game.
That was weird.
Bow, bow, bow. They were all this elite team coming out to introduce their weird indie games.
Yeah, that was strange.
It was, it felt like it was supposed to be cool.
It wasn't
But
cool.
it was just kind of not.
There was actually, maybe I'll talk about it now because we're finishing up the Microsoft thing.
Yeah,
but,
it's not much more to say about Microsoft.
This year's E3 is compared to last year's E3.
Yeah.
The big thing that I noticed was the last year was all about indie games. They made
they pushed
big
a lot.
deal.
And every company mentioned them this year.
But they only mentioned them.
Yeah.
Because even...
And they did a little indie showcase video and stuff.
Yeah, there were montages of indie games, couple-minute montages, and that was it for one of the press conferences. I know, No Man's Sky got 3 minutes, Cuphead got 2 minutes.
Yep.
But by and large, you didn't see much indie game stuff going on. Nope. Especially not new indie game stuff that they were excited about.
But in favor of that, there were a lot of big series announcements, and there were several new IP announcements of AAA titles. So there was a lot to have in spite of that.
It's true.
But it was odd to see the dialing back of the indie games a bit.
Especially now that they had opened it to the public, to the
Yeah.
prosumers.
To the prosumers like us.
So you'd think that they would focus a little more on that stuff, just
I
because
better,
it seems like it would fit the audience better.
Gotta go pre-order Forza so I can get my new Ford GT6, whatever it was called.
That monstrosity.
Go on Facebook and tell me how much I don't know about cars.
Please. Don't copy that floppy.
I will say, I will
Facebook
end us talking about Microsoft with how Microsoft ended their press conference, which was with a big on-screen banner of the 5 heroes of Microsoft gaming.
Oh yeah, this is great.
Halo Man, the Gear of War, some other jerk-offs.
Lara Croft.
She was up there. There was somebody else who I can't remember, but then in the middle was the car. The big dumb blue car.
Hero of Microsoft.
These legendary heroes. Yeah, I don't remember what the other one was. All that sticks out in my mind is Halo Man, Gear of War, and the car. So, who's up next?
EA.
So I didn't see the first 20 minutes of EA's conference. I saw Battlefront.
I think EA was.
Oh yeah, and they talked about the Old Republic.
EA was one of the companies that had, I think, the most sort of canned businessman speech in it.
And they had that little nothing teaser of Mass Effect.
Oh, that was super annoying.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I was happy to see it instead of nothing, but I still would have liked to see more of that.
Yeah.
So they did the Plants vs. Zombies thing, I believe. It was the stupidest thing I've ever seen. So all the lights dim, and there's this super hype music starts up like you'd hear at a basketball game, and then a door opens on the center of the stage, and a dude in an outfit dressed as the superhero zombie from the new Plants vs. Zombies Garden Warfare game comes out on stage and just,
Please tell me he just immediately fell over.
He didn't. He just struck a bunch of poses like Fonzie pointing at people and flexing and doing all sorts of other poses, and then the actual developers who were going to talk about Plants vs. Zombies came out and they're like, "Hey, whoa, get off the stage, man!" And then he gets all disappointed and then walks off stage morosely.
I see, that was the joke.
And I was like, "Oh my god, this is the stupidest thing I've ever seen."
I'd like to talk about the demographic that they're really shooting for here. Tweens. Remember that from a few years ago?
Yeah.
When they said tweens and all the 13-year-olds ran out onto the stage. It was like, no! Stop it, Microsoft!
But,
I'll thank Phil Spencer for at least making sure that didn't happen again.
Thank you, Phil Spencer. Thank you. So, that was one of the dumb things. The other super dumb thing was
whoever's writing these jokes and canned little funny speeches for these guys is not doing.
They need to stop.
They need to really stop.
I mean, we're going to talk about that a lot more with
Ubisoft. Well, I think the problem with Ubisoft was nobody was writing them.
That's actually, yeah, you might be right.
Opposite problem.
So the other big stupid thing that EA did was FIFA 2016, where they had Pele come on stage.
I didn't see this part either.
And talk to them and talk about how realistic the game was because he's in the game. I mean, he was like, "Oh, this game is so realistic," and blah,
I play
blah.
soccer, and it's pretty realistic.
Yeah. But oh my god, what a waste! The guy's a living legend, and you brought him on stage.
Hello, I am Pele. Please buy FIFA.
Dude, on stage talking about FIFA,
and then the blue car came down and picked up Pele.
They ascended.
They went back to his home planet together. That would have been the best if the car just kept coming back down to get people during everyone else's shows.
I mean, they were different show floors, but it would still be great if on every show floor the car was installed.
One of them, Doc Brown, comes out. It's your kids, Phil.
Or the car descends.
Your daughter buys a PlayStation.
The car descends, and in the passenger seat, it's the Plants vs. Zombies situation. In the driver's seat, it's Pele.
Oh, no.
And they're both wearing Pit Boys. That, to me, is this year's E3.
Oh my god. Somebody, if anybody who has any artistic talent is hearing this right now, please draw that. We can put it up as our Facebook cover photo.
That'd be so good. Oh my god.
Fantastic.
And the caption will just be E3 2015.
E3 2015. Oh, God.
Was there anything else that stood out to us? Oh my gosh, I forgot the biggest Microsoft announcement that I actually liked.
Oh.
Backwards compatibility.
Oh, yeah, duh.
I can't believe I forgot that. I'm bad. I'm so sorry.
That was actually really cool to hear.
That was awesome.
So they got major points for that, at least. I guess that makes up for the car.
Yeah,
Sure.
I think it does.
Because that was actually, like, a no BS, legitimately cool thing to find out is going to be happening.
And that, again, I think
as long as it gets implemented well.
Yeah,
which I hope
the games actually work.
Yeah.
Like, they run properly.
Well, they said in July they're going to be starting up, like, tests of it.
Mm-hmm.
And then it'll be for everybody come fall. I'm pretty sure is what they said about it. So it seems like they are doing, like, public testing of it to make sure everything does work. Which is good. They don't just drop it on everybody and have it not work at all and become a huge failure. So, can't complain about that. So, aside from the fact that I didn't see much of EA's conference, compared to the others, I didn't feel like there was much really to talk about with theirs. They showed Battlefront, Star Wars Battlefront.
Yeah.
But there was nothing really, like, weird about the way they presented. They were just like, oh, here's Star Wars.
They were pretty no-nonsense about it.
It was Star Wars.
I think that it was a great contrast to last year, where instead of showing us Star Wars, they showed us a mini documentary about the making of Star Wars. Yeah. And that bugged the crap out of me.
Me too. And we had our friend who said, oh, it was the best thing I saw at E3.
Oh my god.
No, it wasn't.
Good jump off a bridge.
You're lying.
But do we want to move on to Ubisoft?
We're gonna have to at some point.
We have to.
Do you guys like internet memes?
Because you know who likes internet memes?
Aisha Tyler.
He does.
Or at least we would be led to believe that, based on how she hosts Ubisoft's press conference over and over and over and over.
Oh my god, so that press conference was borderline unwatchable because of her.
It was bad.
And it made me...
I have not been a fan of her the previous 2 times she's done it either.
We talked about her last year, and I actually was kind of split on her last year.
I don't remember her presentation of it that well last year, but I remember not being a big fan of it.
Yeah, because, like...
I remember not being as outraged and annoyed as a lot of people I saw. Mm-hmm. I saw a lot of people really slamming it last year, and I didn't find the press conference that bad. Because, like, she was kind of obnoxious.
Yeah, like, last year when she presented, it felt like she genuinely cared, but a lot of the time her jokes would just fall flat. Yeah. But, like, some of the time she would actually say something funny.
Yeah.
And for the most part, she actually, like, kept the show moving and got things being presented,
but
and it all sort of ended up flowing. But this year was not that.
It was a mess. It felt like there was, like, a weird little skit happening between every announcement.
My assumption was that she was trying to fill time a couple times during this press conference, and she just needed to...
I'm gonna go talk to this cosplayer now.
Yeah.
Ha 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 ha, you're Assassin's Creed man. Internet meme.
So that...
And the guy's just sitting there like, oh god, I wish she would go away.
There was a lot about that interaction that didn't make sense. For one thing, the fact that she's clearly trying to fill time because something else should be happening.
Yeah.
So she decides to go down...
I'm wondering if Ubisoft had more stuff they wanted to show originally and ended up not having it ready.
Yeah.
Or something went wrong.
Or they had some technical issues.
Yeah.
Don't let me forget... the Sony one where there was a lot of translation. Don't let me forget that.
Yeah.
That's a great thing that I gotta mention. But anyway, so it seems like she's filling time, so she walks into the audience. It also seems like she's going off script because she gets much more like that with what she's saying.
Yeah. There was a lot of in between things she was saying.
And she says, oh, we were talking about Assassin's Creed earlier. Cool thing you viewers might want to know. The company hired a professional cosplayer to dress as the main male character from the new Assassin's Creed, and he's here right now. So she finds him in the audience and goes up to him, but he's like sitting in the audience, so he clearly wasn't supposed to come out on stage.
And you could tell because when she walked up to him, he looked really uncomfortable.
Yeah, like he wasn't expecting that at all.
No. And she starts asking him questions, and he's just sitting there like, I'm here to be Assassin's Creed guy.
Yep.
Like, that's why they hired me.
And that was when she started talking about memes.
And it was real bad.
She was like, we gotta make up some memes for tonight. What are some great meme ideas? And she just puts the microphone in his face.
And he's like,
As anyone would be. Because you can't just think of a great meme on the spot.
Well,
and why would you see that coming? Like, why would you...
Memes just happen. Memes just happen. That's how they work. You can't
force them.
You can't force them. Millhouse isn't a meme. When will you people learn this?
Everything's coming up, Millhouse.
But, like, they don't work. It doesn't work that way. Like, and how's he even supposed to say that? How about you put a picture of...
I know, that's the other thing. Memes are
me, and then you say, here I am. Ubisoft press conference 2015.
Yeah, because that's how memes work. They're a picture and then a caption.
Yeah.
You can't... Oh.
It's not happening.
It was so awkward. And that was
she asked all the developers weird questions.
And she, like, palled around with them. And for some of them, it, like, made sense because it seemed like they actually knew her. Yeah. But then for other ones, it seemed like they had never met her before, and it was super awkward.
So... what we're getting at, I suppose, is the biggest issue with Ubisoft's conference was the hosting.
Yeah.
And how, like you said, it made the show borderline unwatchable. Like, between game trailers,
it was painful.
I was just like, no, like, I don't want any more.
Super cringeworthy. Oh my god.
On the other hand, they didn't do too much annoying talking up of their series. They kind of just showed games.
They didn't do guy in suit talking about
that's what
about synergy and prosumers and
they were
immersive
like,
experience.
Hey, here's our new Assassin's Creed game. Here's some stuff about that. And they showed you the game.
And I understand that it makes sense to me that that's something they're very conscious of, because that's probably why they got Aisha, sorry.
Yeah.
In the first place. Because they didn't want it to sound like suits talking at people.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm always going to give Ubisoft at least a couple of points for trying to avoid that pitfall, because that is super boring and obnoxious.
Yeah.
I mean, we saw plenty of it during Microsoft.
I mean, last year, people said, excuse me, why does Ubisoft keep getting her as their host? Why? And last year I was like, they just like her. But this year I'm asking, why are they still using her as their host?
They need to stop. They need to find a different host.
They need to find a different person.
I'm glad that they want to have a host who's like a sort of entertainer type person.
Yeah.
Just find somebody else.
You can just find someone else. Ubisoft did Just Dance, right?
Oh my gosh, did they? I totally...
Because that was,
I think, yeah, they did.
That was like, hey, here's Dance Man.
Yeah, so
he's going to come out and dance at you for 5 minutes now.
To promote Just Dance, they had a musical performance.
They had this week's pop star.
Yep.
Guy who I don't know the name of, even now. Even after being told his name like 5 times by my girlfriend.
It's not important.
But apparently his name is in all of his songs, so it's easy to find out. Because he just says his name a lot.
He says his name all the time.
Sign of a good artist, really.
Yeah.
My favorite song by Aerosmith is the one where they're like, Aerosmith, it's great.
So that was like painfully awkward. Did they have people run out and dance during that performance? I think they might have.
I think they did. They did. And they were trying to dance with the people on the screen behind them, but they were like way off the beat.
Because that whole game is just embarrassing for them now, because the whole point of that game, we talked about this a little bit last week, but the whole point of that game was it was supposed to synergize with the Kinect.
And now they're like, oh, but there's no Kinects anymore.
Yeah, they're not packaged with Xbox
so
anymore.
Don't worry.
We'll make it work with your phone, which doesn't make any sense.
Great. Thanks, Ubisoft. So that whole presentation was just a mess. So we had almost forgotten about that, and that was pretty heinous. So, bad job, Ubisoft.
Did Ubisoft do anything right?
Some of the games they showed looked good.
Yeah.
That's about it.
You know, the interaction between the South Park guys and Aisha Tyler was genuine, because it seems like she actually knew them. And,
she probably knows them, and the two of them are good in situations like that.
Oh, totally. If they had those guys host it, oh my god.
Oh, man.
That would have been awesome.
Get Matt and Trey to just do it next year. They're doing the South Park game anyway. They have every reason to be there. And
then the whole time they'll just keep making these jokes about, like, all these games that aren't as important as our game. And they could actually make that funny.
Because the thing is, not only could they make these jokes, not only would they be making jokes as hosts, their jokes would probably actually be funny. Because they're comedy writers. And they're pretty charismatic guys, too. They have a good presence on stage and everything. So Sony would be our next one.
So Sony is the press conference that is the most split for me.
Right.
So last week, I was actually a big fan of a lot of the stuff that Sony did.
Yeah.
Because they made a lot of announcements that some of them I was kind of lukewarm about, but I understand why people were very excited about them.
Yeah.
But in terms
we talked about that a bit.
Yeah. But in terms of the business side of how Sony handled stuff, I was super upset about... I mean, one thing I can think of off the top of my head that just made me infuriated. Okay, so besides the fact that we had a bunch of... Square Enix is the one with all the translation. I'm sorry. We'll get to that later.
Yeah, that was Square.
Yeah.
Because Square,
okay,
it was rough.
So, they revealed and launched the Kickstarter for Shenmue 3.
That's right. You said we almost talked about this last week, but you said you'd save it.
Because it's way more of the... my problem with it is the business thing. The fact that they're making another Shenmue, I'm happy about that.
Yeah, I'm happy for everybody who loves Shenmue and wants like the end of the story. This is great.
Yeah.
I'm really happy that they're making this. Because I've seen people talk about wanting an end to that game for over a decade now. And it's cool to see it happen.
So... They did this, they launched this Kickstarter.
Yep.
And as a result, it was immediately funded within probably like hours.
It was within 24 hours.
I actually should look to see how much it has now. I'm going to assume around 4 million. Because it had 2 million like a couple of hours.
It's slowed down quite a bit after the initial rush. Because, I mean, obviously it was going to slow down once it made its goal. It is currently... It's at 3.6.
Oh, okay, that was close.
Yeah. So it has slowed down significantly.
But yeah, so they launched this Kickstarter at their press conference, and they're saying, like, oh, we just need $2 million to make Shenmue. And I'm looking at that thinking, wait, when we see press conferences, or when we see Kickstarters, it's usually the developers... who either aren't in their companies anymore that made these games that we want sequels or successors to.
Right.
And they've gone to these companies and said, hey, can we make a new Banjo-Kazooie game? And the company has said, no, that won't sell. So they've had to go on Kickstarter and make Yooka-Laylee by changing stuff.
That's something we forgot to talk about with Microsoft as well. Speaking of Rareware.
Oh, yeah.
We'll go to that after this, because it kind of works.
That was another thing they announced that was actually kind of cool.
Yeah.
I can't believe I forgot about all that stuff.
It's been a while.
Should have done more review. So, it's cool, and I want to give money to stuff like Yooka-Laylee and the Castlevania game.
Oh, Bloodstained?
Bloodstained
got funded to
back. And I want to give money to those because it's the developer saying, like, hey, and the Mega Man successor, number 9. Because those developers saying, hey, we went to the big studios, they wouldn't give us money, so we have to go to the fans.
But we know you guys want these games.
Yeah. But with
no matter how much the executives say, you don't.
But with Shenmue, it's the executive saying, hey, we want this game, but we want you to pay for it.
Yeah.
And that's super douchey.
Right.
Like, I can't believe how much that was so insulting to me and to game creators. That made me so angry, especially because I was reading something on Forbes about it, and they were talking about how Shenmue 2, which came out in '99,
something like that,
cost, I don't remember how many million, like 40 million to make.
It was expensive.
So the idea that you would be making a Shenmue 3 that looks as it does in the trailer for $2 million is laughable. There's no way that you can make it for only $2 million. So obviously Sony was putting up at least like the other $38 million. So why couldn't they just put the extra $2 million? They just didn't want to pay for it.
Well, here's my thoughts on that. I don't think that this game was going to be much of a game for just $2 million. And I think that was his plan. He wants to make a tiny little experience that will finish the story. So basically, even if I only make $2 million on this Kickstarter, I'm going to make my little finishing bit so people can have closure. And that's that.
And if that was just him, then I would be totally okay with that.
Right. The other thing that I'm wondering about is that Shenmue was not a Sony title. So the fact that it was shown at Sony's press conference is weird, because this was a Sega game. I'm wondering if Sega still owning the rights in some way would stop Sony from funding a Shenmue game under that name. But I'm not sure how the Kickstarter could get around that, if that is the case.
Yeah, what I had read was people had contacted Sony about this. Now, I don't remember the specific article, so this might not be super true. But what I remember reading when I was first looking this up right after I saw it was that reporters had started asking Sony, and it said, like, hey, wouldn't it cost way more to make this game? And Sony said, well, yeah, the Kickstarter is really just to gauge interest.
Okay.
And I'm like, okay, well, that's also fine, but in that case, we shouldn't donate to the Kickstarter because they don't need the money, and giving them the money is just being like, hey, Sony, here, have some money for a game that we will also buy later. It's advertising that we're paying them to look at. And that bugs me so much.
So, this is... the trailer.
This is Shenmue.
So what you're saying is that this is kind of like almost like a little deal with the devil situation of like, oh, look at the thing you've always wanted, but there's all this sleazy stuff going on in the background of it. That seems just shady.
Very shady.
That's unfortunate. I mean, I didn't give money to Kickstarter because I haven't played Shenmue 1 and 2. I just think it's cool that they're making it. But I would be curious to know more about how this all came together and how Yu Suzuki approached Sony about this and why Sony decided to do it, even in the first place. Because, like, you're saying all this of, like, oh, it's weird, like, the way Sony's doing it is sleazy and gross. Why would they even do this in the first place?
Yeah, that is strange.
Yeah. It's and why now? It's also been so long.
I assume that it's because, and again, this is also me being cynical, but I assume it's because that they saw Mighty Number 9, they saw Yooka-Laylee, they saw Bloodstained, and they said, we gotta get in on this gravy train. My
other question, though, is what amount... Oh, this stupid trailer keeps going. What amount... To what degree is Sony actually involved in the making of this game?
I mean, I assume they're pretty intimately involved since it was a highlight of their press conference. That's what I have to assume.
That's what one would assume. But none of it says, like, produced by Sony.
Yeah, the Kickstarter project is very clear about being by Yes. That's
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is, I mean, it's Yu Suzuki.
Yeah.
Like, it's him. It's him making the game with some team of people. Mm-hmm. Is this a team of people from Sony? Who knows? We don't know. Maybe it's just people he found on the street, and that's why the game's so cheap. I can't find the update. I can't find the update about it here, but he did say that they would need $10 million to make this game a true open world experience.
Which still seems really cheap to me.
It does.
Yeah.
I mean, they didn't say it had to be a big open world.
I mean, it's like an open world the size of Rhode Island.
Regardless of everything else, I am really interested in seeing how this game shapes up.
Yeah, totally.
Because it's been funded. It's on track to, by the time it's done, it'll probably make, like, a couple more stretch goals, I would guess.
Mm-hmm.
So, we'll see where it goes. I'm definitely interested. But yeah, I mean, when you put things the way you put them, as far as this kind of skeeziness of it, yeah, I agree. But more so, it makes me want to know more about how this even happened before I say, like, one way or another. Like, Sony's being super sleazy or whatever. Sony also announced a big remake, Final Fantasy VII remake. They finally confirmed.
We talked a lot about that last week.
Yeah, that Last Guardian's happening.
Yeah, I'm talking about
that. And I thought that the way they presented most of that stuff was pretty, like, okay.
Yeah.
Most of their business guys came out and they were just like, oh, here's a game a lot of people have been looking forward to. It's about friendship and stuff. It's Last Guardian. Ah! And they even had like kind of a funny little part where one of them was like reading off a list and he's like, oh, so we showed you Last Guardian. Showed you remake Final Fantasy VII. And it was just this really cheeky, like, oh, look at all the cool stuff we showed. It's like, oh, I think that's about it. That's about it. And he acted all, like, kind of fake humble. Which I kind of liked because it just seemed like a smarmy, like, hey, Microsoft, what now? Yeah. So they had some stuff like that actually came off as genuinely funny.
They showed...
Which surprised me.
No, I mean, I guess in terms of business stuff, yeah.
I mean, No Man's Sky was presented by the head of development, like always, and he's fine.
Yep.
It's just a dude. They did a little thing about how you can get cable through your PlayStation now.
I forgot about that.
Yeah. So that was kind of the most, like, businessy thing they did, I thought. Was like, we're going to be offering cable plans. But they didn't even linger on it for very long. It was a pretty small part of the press conference. So, I mean, points for that.
Yeah.
Because they obviously wanted to announce the service, but I'm glad they didn't make it like a third of their press conference. And they talked about Project Morpheus a little bit as well. But not too much, because I feel like there wasn't a ton to say. Yeah. They said there were going to be some playable demos of it on the show floor and stuff like that. Oh, okay. But so, Sony did pretty okay, I thought.
Going back to Microsoft real quick for the Rare thing.
Yes! So you just brought up Rare as far as people saying, oh, no one wants Banjo-Kazooie, you can't make it. Too bad. So Microsoft is putting out a Rare Games collection that's 30 classic Rareware games.
You can download them from Xbox Live, right?
Yep. I think they showed a box, too. Is there going to be a physical release?
Oh, I hope so.
Because that would be cool.
I don't remember that.
But it's 30 games for $30.
That's great.
And we're talking like Jet Force Gemini, Banjo-Kazooie, Banjo-Tooie, Perfect Dark. Like, these are all Conquer. Like, these are all really good games. So, that was a really great announcement, I thought.
That also smelled to me like another Phil Spencer move.
Yeah.
Where he was like, this is a common sense thing that we should do because
people will buy it. It's not expensive. Yeah, we own Rareware.
Just do it. People will buy it.
All these games came out on Nintendo consoles originally, but we own them now. Put them out.
Yeah. It was good. I was
and
really
it's
glad.
So cheap. It's $1 a game for these great games.
So we got to talk about Nintendo and Square.
Okay.
In 12 minutes.
Well, that's good because Nintendo and Square won't take very long.
I think Square was like a hot mess.
Square, let's just start with Square because we're on that now. Square was so boring.
So boring. They also had the tiniest conference room.
They had a very small conference room.
So
nobody spoke English.
Yeah, so you never got, like, even though people applauded for stuff, it always sounded like there was only 5 people applauding because there were so few people in the audience. Because it was just a small place.
Yeah.
And that hurt them in terms of presentation. But yeah, nobody spoke English, so they had a translator.
Yes.
But during one of the segments, the translator just didn't translate it. and it was hilarious. There was actually, on Super Bunny Hop, he did a video about all the things he was upset about from E3, and he mentions that, and he listened to the audio and, like, turned it up really high, and he's like, yeah, you can totally hear the guy snore during the thing that he didn't translate. So I was like, oh, he fell asleep during the press conference.
Oh, like all of us did.
Like all of us did.
The problem with the way they structured it was, here's a short video. Now I will talk about it for 10 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Here is another short video. Now I will talk about this video for 10 minutes. It was just dull.
But then that guy came out in the mask and talked about something for 10 minutes, but he had a mask on.
What?
Do you remember that? That was.
I think I might have fallen asleep during that part.
I totally forgot which game that was for. I don't think it was Nier. I think it was something else.
I'm excited about Nier.
It might.
That was good.
Maybe it was for Nier. I don't know.
I don't think it was.
But someone came out in a really creepy looking mask.
Okay.
And I hadn't played the game. Like, I didn't know anything about the game franchise, so I didn't understand what it was supposed to be referencing in the game. But it just looked creepy. And then he stood at the podium.
That was Nier.
Yeah.
That was Nier. You're right, because he's wearing a mask of Emil's face from the first game, which is very creepy. He's a very nice person, though, the character. I mean, the guy under the mask is probably nice, too.
I'm sure he is.
He
sounded very pleasant, but then he just kept the mask on the whole time.
It is super creepy looking.
And I was like, dude, it's fun if you put the mask on and come out on stage. You're like, oh, I'm this character, but then take it off to talk to us.
And you could tell that he couldn't see where he was going.
Yeah, because...
I do remember this, because he was, like, doddering around, like, trying to find the podium.
Yeah.
And then when he was done, they, like, turned him so he could go off stage correctly.
Why would you just take the mask
or
off?
Or put eye holes in it. Anything.
Because it was so weird to have him just talk to us with that mask on.
It was bizarre.
Talk to us in Japanese with that mask on.
So yeah, so the guy comes out to talk about Nier, and all we get is de animos. And the translator falls asleep. It was rough. Square, you guys dropped the ball.
Really dropped the ball.
And the other problem is that since they happened after Sony, some of the stuff they showed was not new either.
Yeah.
Like, they showed the FF7 remake trailer again. Which, that Final Fantasy VII remake, I found out, is not being made in-house. It's not being made in Sony or Square Enix Studios. It's being made by CyberConnect 22.
That's a bad sign.
On one hand it is, on the other hand, CyberConnect 22 is a good developer.
Okay.
They are a good developer. But it is weird that Sony would say, nah, we're not going to do this. We'll ship this out to someone else.
It makes it sort of sound like they don't care.
Yeah.
That's not good.
No. It's worrisome. I'm hopeful because I know CyberConnect 22 is a good studio.
Alright.
I'm hopeful because I know some of the guys at Square said, we're not going to take anything out of this game. We're going to leave all the content, for better or worse.
And we, have only seen a cinematic trailer, so it's way too early to judge anything.
Exactly. Yeah. They did say they're going to leave in, all the goofy stuff, like the part where Cloud cross-dresses.
Nice.
Which I'm really wondering how that'll be, because the game looks so much grittier when it's in better graphics. Because in the old PS1 graphics, you could get away with stuff like that, because it just looked goofy anyway. But now it's all, dark and edgy.
He's going to look like a streetwalker.
He's going to look like a streetwalker.
Be real weird.
Cloud's a skinny guy. He's going to look like he's done a lot of meth. In that prostitute outfit.
No, but it was too bad, too, because, they showed off Kingdom Hearts 3.
Which looked very uninteresting.
It looked very uninteresting, and they didn't talk about it in an interesting way. They talked about DSX. I think that they showed that. They got to show that.
Yeah.
Just them. And that was actually looked good. And they talked about it well, but that was because it was non-Japanese people. It was people who actually spoke English.
Yeah.
Came out and gave a good presentation.
Yeah. Which is not to say the Japanese guys can't give a good presentation. The Square Enix guys couldn't.
No, they totally
And the
couldn't.
fact that they didn't speak, that they needed the translation, was just another wall in the way of it being an engaging presentation. Because, it's hard to listen to stuff like that through a translator.
It really is.
It just is. Nintendo, we can move on to Nintendo. Nintendo did the same thing because a lot of them only speak Japanese. So they had translators, but they had them talking over the Japanese in their video because they did a Nintendo Direct. So it was like you were just listening to people speaking English.
And so Nintendo, they in terms of their announcements, it was a mixed bag. as we talked about last week.
I would actually say mostly underwhelming.
Mm-hmm.
And
but in terms of their actual presentation of the thing, I loved it.
The Muppets.
It
was great.
They danced around.
I mean, the highlight of the Muppet part also was the beginning.
Yeah.
When they all start turning into Star Fox characters.
Yeah.
And it's kind of scary. But that was great. And Star Fox looks fantastic. I was glad they really showed a lot of it.
And the sequences of, oh god, what's his name?
Reggie?
No, Miyamoto?
Yeah.
At the Japanese temple.
At the shrine. I've been there actually. I went there when I was in Japan.
And they do the interview with him there. It's really pretty.
With him talking about his thoughts when he created Star Fox originally.
It was cool.
Really cool.
It was
showing him drawing. I filled the little fox face placard that he filled out. I filled out one of those when I was at that shrine. Yeah, you draw a little face on him and hang him up with the others. You write a wish on the back.
That was if last year they had done the mini Battlefront documentary it would have been like that.
It would have been something like that. I mean, and that's also Miyamoto's just a charming guy.
Totally.
So having him do that himself was even better. And I think that's where Nintendo gets a lot of points, is a lot of the people who work there are just, they're charismatic and just fun people.
And they had the woman who came out and talked about Woolly Worlds and talked about how she had made the little wool things. And it was just really cute and it related to the game.
Way more personal feeling than from any of the other press conferences.
Even when they did the really corporate crossover with
Skylanders. Because Reggie and the guy were just sitting on some steps.
Yeah, that was it was annoying because it was clearly a corporate business move, but they presented it in such a way that it didn't bother me that much.
I've seen other people saying, too, it was kind of disappointing because they said, we're going to cross over Amiibo with Skylanders. But only these two specific Amiibo that are being made as Skylanders characters also. And a lot of people I saw asking, why are they not just making a game that supports all the Amiibo? Why is Nintendo not making a Skylanders-like game with them? With that studio. Why are they not just making a Skylanders Amiibo edition? Where it's an action-adventure game like Skylanders, where you play as your Amiibo characters.
Now, maybe it's because they're as we know, Nintendo, super protective of their characters and their IP and how they're represented.
So it is actually kind of surprising that they're giving Bowser and Donkey Kong to this.
I think this was probably a thing where the only two characters that they were comfortable doing that with.
Yeah.
That's my assumption.
Because DK's not super big at this point,
and
Bowser's a villain. So he's not as big a deal.
Yeah.
They'd never give him Mario.
No.
Absolutely.
But in terms of pushing plastic junk on us, they did the Woolly World stuff. I mean, that wasn't plastic. But that
there are Yoshi and Yarn Amiibos.
Well, yeah, but are they actually made out of yarn, right?
No, they're not. The Amiibos aren't. Okay. But the little Yarn Yoshis are. But I don't know if we get Yarn Yoshis.
I assumed that we were going to.
Are they going to be a pre-order bonus? Maybe. I don't know. That would be cute.
Maybe a truck of them will get robbed. But no, so, I liked how it was presented. It was cute, but it was still, Amiibos continue to just be an annoying business thing that they're doing.
They keep trying to integrate them into games, but it's never anything super significant.
Yeah.
All of the Amiibos are integrated into Woolly World, but it just gives you a Yoshi color palette.
And they talked about how in the Mario Maker, all the Amiibos can be used in that, but all it really does is change your character.
Yeah.
What you look like, which I guess that's cool, but not I don't care that much.
It's a shame because the Amiibos right now feel more gimmick than anything else, which is obviously what one would be afraid of when they were first announced. And that's why I'm kind of saying we need an Amiibo game.
Yeah.
You need a game that's for your Amiibos. That you can play as Captain Falcon and Mario in a team and beat stuff up.
Now, maybe if the Skylanders Amiibo crossover sells really well, we could be seeing that working with them. Because I assume Nintendo also doesn't want to make their own Skylanders competitor game, because Skylanders kind of has that market cornered.
Especially now that they're clearly partnering with them. They're not going to step on their toes.
But maybe if it goes well, we'll see that sort of Skylanders Amiibo edition expansion.
I kind of hope so. I think that'd be neat.
That would be good. That would be a good move.
But overall, I thought a lot of Nintendo's showings were just kind of unremarkable. Mm-hmm. They either showed stuff like the Skylanders thing that was kind of just a corporate deal. Even the Yoshi's Woolly World stuff was just more of the game. that we already knew was coming. We saw a release date for Xenoblade Chronicles X, which I was happy we finally got a release date.
Oh, yeah, we forgot to talk about that last week.
December 4th. Looking forward to it. But they showed nothing new about the game, really. They showed Star Fox, which was nice to finally see, even though we knew it was coming, and they said it's coming holidays. They showed that new Zelda game. I can't help but feel like the only thing I can really say is their show was unremarkable.
I mean, in terms of the actual game stuff they showed, I think aside from Star Fox, I agree with you.
Yeah. Presentation-wise,
I give them pretty high marks for it. Yeah. And a big part of that is because everything is pre-recorded and they're streaming like a movie that they've made.
It's a huge advantage.
It is. It's a huge advantage,
and I see why they keep doing that every year. Because their presentations are just way better than the other companies.
Because
they're much more polished because of the editing and
just
everything.
like the Muppet thing, you couldn't do that with any of the live press conferences.
And it was great. It was terrific.
Yeah.
I mean, and last year they did a bunch of goofy stuff too, so it was nice to see them follow suit with something new. It was just kind of silly and fun.
Now, we are just about out of time.
Yep.
I mean, we are out of time, but do you want to talk about some upcoming games and then we'll end the show?
Yeah. What do we got?
What's the date today?
It's the 26th of June.
Coming out today, Blaze Blue.
Chrono Phantasma Extend. You can buy Chrono Phantasma again.
Exactly.
Tokiden Kiwami. You can play Monster Hunter, but with less interesting art direction.
Hyperdimension Neptuna
Birth 3 V generation.
For the Vita. Get excited.
Under Night in Birth EXE Lite. The best Japanese game title.
There's a lot of random Japanese stuff coming out right now.
Yeah, J-Star's Victory versus Plus. That's a Shonen Jump manga fighting game.
I don't know. I don't recognize any of the stuff coming out in the next week at all.
Yeah, there's a whole lot of nothing after that.
A whole lot of nothing.
So we got a lot of Japanese stuff. Really Japanese stuff.
If you're big into Japanese imports,
go for it.
Oh my gosh. Last thing I want to mention about Square Enix, one of my favorite things about the press conference, is they were like, hey, you guys, we know you're worried that traditional JRPGs are going away. Don't worry, we're founding a studio specifically to make JRPGs.
Star Ocean 5!
And I was just like, you guys, your entire press conference is a testament to how those games aren't going away. It kind of makes me wish that they were.
Did you guys know that you already made tons of JRPGs?
So that struck me as so funny.
And still are? It's pretty ridiculous.
Okay, but yeah, thank you guys for watching. This has been Don't Copy That Floppy on www.chipbit.net. We broadcast live every Friday from 7 p.m. until 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can check out our podcast archive on iTunes or on chipbit.net. You can download those episodes. Dan, where can they find us on social media?
Facebook. Twitter. 3 others that I'm not doing sounds for. Steam, iTunes, and YouTube. We're Don't Copy That Floppy everywhere but Twitter, where we are at DCTF Podcast. So that about wraps it up.
Yeah, we'll be back next week talking about our regularly scheduled gaming news. This is the end of our 2-part E3 thing. Oh, also, if you're watching this in archive and you're like, hey, where's part 1 of the E3 coverage from this year? We forgot to
Somebody forgot to hit the record button.
It might have been me. It was my fault. So unfortunately, if you didn't hear that live, you're never going to hear it.
Which is too bad, because I thought it was a pretty good show.
Yeah, we just talked about the game announcements and what we liked and what we didn't like.
But until next week, remember, the most important thing in your entire life, don't copy that floppy.
Pizza time!